Good day, ladies and gentlemen. This is Charles Sells with the PIP Group. Wanted to share a presentation that's kind of off the beaten path of what we normally do, but I wrote an article about a year ago and it's gotten a lot of traction. They've actually asked that we do some follow-up articles to it. And essentially it was 3 steps to learning your investment manager's true identity. It ended up being an op-ed I did for Think Realty magazine. The internet has made real estate investing more accessible than ever. Be aware and beware. So essentially, what the article here is talking about, and in the end, I'll share the full op-ed with you, is exposing career bloggers for the truth. There's a lot of great blog sites out there, Bigger Pockets for one, but they've gotten kind of saturated with a lot of people attempting to drum up business from them by trashing what they consider to be their competition, but in all essence, they're more or less just wannabe gurus attempting to make a business out of the novices that try to utilize these sites for more knowledge base. So let's just jump. What is a career blogger? These images pointed out pretty well, and we're going to kind of show you some examples and what to look for to avoid these kind of individuals. Essentially, a career blogger, they're on these resource sites, and they're you see it on Facebook all the time as well. It works almost the exact same way. They're in there, sharing opinions based on absolutely no factual knowledge. They're making countless posts that have no basis of claim or anything else. And the more they post, the more attention they get. So it serves kind of a narcissistic attitude, if you will, but they're also using it as an attempt to draw up business. On a lot of these places, if the more you post, it improves your rankings, both for your own website, but also on that page itself. So you could go from being tagged as a novice to being tagged as a pro, and so on. And it could have absolutely nothing to do with your experience. It just has to do with how much you're actually on there posting stuff. Now, I will say there are some really good podcasts and bloggers out there that are providing good, solid information. But what we're talking about is how to recognize these frauds, essentially. And I'm going to use the PIP Group's own experience to give you some examples of what it is and how it's being done out there right now. All right, so like I just said, it's not that we don't like the public forums such as Bigger Pockets or Yelp or some of the other ones, but there's not enough um, refereeing, if you will, from the sidelines of these forums, and they're being abused for what they were intended for. So there needs to be more monitoring for truth and accuracy, rather than all the bickering and lack of factual basis that's going on these sites. It's become rather out of control. So rather than solid advice and knowledge base, these forums were intended for, they're clouded, like I said, with narcissists who want to be gurus, who claim to be, multi-millionaires who have done, hundreds of thousands of fix and flips, and that statement itself is completely inaccurate because you couldn't possibly do that as one person in the country. Legitimate and reputable mentors, coaches, and servicers now to actually try to avoid these sites because we can guarantee a swift and ugly attack from a career blogger without any basis whatsoever. I have one. I've never met the guy. Not once in my life have I met him. Anytime somebody says something positive about the PIP group, he has gotten on there within 10 minutes to state something negative. And again, I've never met this guy. I don't consider him a competitor. We don't invest in the same states. So he's on there just essentially trashing the PIP group for reasons we do not know. And there's a lot of that out there, and there's a lot of it going on. So in today's world of fly-by-night real estate investor gurus, success is often determined by how well an individual or a company can stage themselves online. And that's the absolute truth. It can be pure fabrication. Somebody can say, our team, our company, and it's one guy, and literally he's doing it, posing in front of somebody else's car, stating they've got a large scale operation and talking about a big game, and he's running everything out of his mother's basement. It's the absolute truth. They'll put that Inc. 500 or Inc. 5000 logo up in the corner of their website, and it's all based on fabrication. There's nothing legitimate to it whatsoever. And because you can do this, you can essentially take what is not a business at all and make it look like it's not just a business, but a major corporation. So it's really hurt a lot of investors out there. And we're going to show you some things, some examples of questions to ask yourself, and examples again of what to look for. All right, so like I said, these sites, they do have some good resources, and it's supposed to be information sharing, and there's not supposed to be any business promoting or anything like that. But obviously there's 1,000 different ways around that. If there's a career blogger out there, and he's got 8,800 blogs up on by the his face picture there, you can Google that name and immediately all his businesses are going to pop up, right? So that's what they try to do here. So how first question you can ask yourself is, how big is their online presence? Dominating search engine rankings is great, but too much domination indicates resources are going to IT and sales rather than customer service and investor care, and that's absolutely the truth. Now, real estate is a huge business, obviously, and around the world, but in the U.S. particularly. And if every time you put in a search, whether it's career coaching or wealth building or anything in that framework, and the same name pops up over and over and over and over again, they are just spending a ton of money on their SEO, and too much can be a red flag. So does it seem like their SEO is too clean? Now, SEO stands for search engine optimization. That's what we all want in life, is to be on page one of Google, right? And there's a lot of different ways to do that. Now, Google has tried to do a very good job of ranking based on activity, and a lot of these blog sites are showing that activity, and that's how they get into those rankings. So businesses large and small, are utilizing this technology to get those good rankings. However, legitimate businesses don't have, regardless of size, an SEO team that is specifically there to post on blog sites. They don't have the time for that, nor do they need to do that if they're a legitimate business, right? So they may not rank, number one on page one, but you'll find them in number three and number four. Also, the part of the blogs is it can be used to bury negative information as well. So the more you're blogging, right, the more you have to search through that particular company or that particular person's blogs to find any negativity. Well, Google does the same thing. So it's difficult to find anything that may be negative out there. So it's a great way to sweep everything under the rug, if you will. And I actually saw one on Bigger Pockets, and the guy flat out said it. He said, "Hey man, your SEO is way too clean. There's no way I'm going to be doing any business with you." So too good of SEO means too much cover up to the truth of the matter that's going on, or too good of SEO. Yeah. So something to look for. Nobody's perfect, and obviously the U.S. is a very litigious country, but legitimate companies will be very transparent if there is something negative out there, like we're going to be today, and give you the truth behind the fiction. Okay, so what kind of team operation are they running? Pronouns really can mean everything. If the verbiage of a company's website indicates a singular presence running the daily operations, take a step back. You know, to be successful and to be scaled in this business, you got to be more than one person. Uh, Otherwise, all you're doing is fabricating who you are, and you're essentially just a middleman passing off deals between other people. So that can speak volumes about what that individual actually is up to. That doesn't mean that a company cannot have a founder or a face. Use myself as an example. If we go to an event and there's awards banquet and we win something, I go up and I accept the award. But I speak in terms of we. I don't speak in terms of me. And I try to mention and thank my team every chance I get. So that's something to be aware of, and that can be a red flag if you hear guru in the name. Now I will say there are a few good gurus out there, but they are few and far between because it's becoming, the term is becoming a negative connotation to the industry, or they're self-professed multimillionaires, and they put that in, the first three sentences of their bio to describe themselves or their service, or there's a yacht, a plane, an expensive sports car of the same said individual, on their Facebook page, or on their website even. That's really the only warning you need. That's one of the oldest bait tactics in the world, is how can I be that guy? He went rags to riches and now he's going to teach me how to do it. Well, no, if he actually did that, he wouldn't be selling you on the idea how to do it. He would just keep doing it. So that's something to keep an eye out for as well. How much time is spent trashing their competitors? I mentioned earlier the guy that he jumps on anything positive about PIP Group in these blog posts, which means he's flagged our company name to be notified anytime somebody says something about him, about us. But again, we don't have no idea why. He operates in states we don't operate in. He's never been a client of ours, so he doesn't have any legitimate gripes to do this. He just does it because he feels like doing it. So consider the amount of manpower devoted to trashing the competition. I mean, that speaks volumes about the business's priorities, right? They're spending all their time on blogs rather than actually out there, fishing for legitimate deals and good business. There can obviously be certain gripes online too, and this is kind of where the problem with these career bloggers comes into play. Is there may be a legitimate gripe and it's buried, or it's considered insignificant because there's no way of knowing if it's a legitimate post or if it's just a disgruntled ex-employee, that has created an alias and is posting out there. We've had that happen as well, and I'm sure every business has had that happen. So you just don't know. So it really washes out what these sites were meant to do, and it's becoming a bigger and bigger and bigger problem. The nasty industry bashing habit is pretty easy to identify, though. First of all, is the career blogger or the company in question, do they appear to seek out people who had bad experiences elsewhere, then use those experiences to make the competition look bad? And again, it happens through you know, false alias posters, that weren't even clients, but they're looking for clients who may have had a bad experience by putting it out there. And I'm going to show you examples of how that's happened with us. And again, it happens with every business. So this isn't about what's happened to us, but it's just to give you guys things to look for when you're considering a servicer or investment provider, to look behind their false bravado, if you will, from their landing page on their website. Look at the whole picture. Has that victim company improved the situation, or just giving them a microphone and some effective internet marketing exposure? Is the CEO of the company spending their time on this vendetta? There again, these self-proclaimed gurus shouldn't have the time to be on these blog sites themselves posting all this crazy stuff. Now, I will be the first to admit I got caught up in this, about a year ago, and I didn't show the best face, but that's when I decided, I don't have time for this crap. I've got work to do, I've got clients to represent, and I've got money to make. And like I said, are those career bloggers like the one that for whatever reason has a problem with us? Are they quick to jump on any good word made in a negative post? If they're quick to do that, and you see them all over the place, and they do have, 8,900 posts and on one particular site and another 9,000 on another. I mean, you really got to consider how much time does it take to devote to doing just that. I mean, that's a lot of hours out of the day to do that. All right, so like I said, we're going to use our own experiences as examples, and we're going to be extraordinarily transparent in this presentation. So what you see here is on the left, if you Google PIP Group, you're going to see on the first page some negative reviews. On the right, you see the Google rankings. Now, what I'll tell you is that we're not pushy about asking our clients to give us good reviews unless they offer. So even though we're nearly 1,000 clients strong in our business, we don't have a lot of reviews out there. We do have some, and we'll talk about those in just a minute. But let's first talk about the Google post. First of all, it's obviously either a former disgruntled employee or one of these career bloggers. I mean, it's just lowest of the low. They are dishonest and will completely rip you off. Husband and wife are bat blank crazy. Don't believe a word they say. You will never see your money again. I mean, if you're gonna post something like that, give some content to it, or some basis and some backing to it, right? The one following it, is great, but honestly, I'm not even sure that's a client. So again, it's not a factual basis to determine what you're going to do next, right? And there are places you can go to make those decisions, and we're going to share those too. Now let's get back over to Bigger Pockets. Now the first thread to Bigger Pockets was clearly somebody who was strictly trying to damage PIP Group. And because the way they listed it, they listed our name, they listed our former names that we had. We were PIP West, and then we opened PIP East, and then we just merged the two and we became PIP Group. So they were essentially trying to take our history and flag all of those, so Google and the internet would be able to find all these nasty posts that are not truthful and are completely inaccurate, but it was an intent to harm the business essentially, and nothing more, nothing legitimate about it. So under the first one, anyone familiar with this possible scam? So that was actually a post that initially started out about a business that isn't even related to PIP. And it concerned a quitclaim deed that PIP had been involved with prior, but it was about a company that was not associated to PIP. Then the next one, tax lien investment gone bad question, that was actually posted by an individual who was out looking for other people that had supposedly had a bad experience like he did. He was a former client, but he was looking for other people so he could do podcasts and that sort of thing. And he did find one or two. We're not perfect. I absolutely admit that, but we're going to address that a little more. But he was looking. He had a vendetta. This guy has such a vendetta against people he feel have wronged him. He has started a fake news website, and he posts fake news articles on that site about these companies that he's worked with. So that's the depth of how some of these people will go, and how far they will go, do this sort of thing. And if you've got time to do that, clearly you don't have time to be a multimillionaire guru. So just again, using our own experiences as example in decisions that you'll make, not necessarily with PIP, but with other companies that you work with on a day-to-day basis. Now the Yelp one here is pretty interesting. It was posted by somebody apparently we fixed and sold a house to. Uh, and it says, don't purchase a house owned by the company. And then she goes on and on and on to rave about, she talked to our contractors, that sort of thing. Well, one, that's not truthful because all of our contractors are also our employees in the area where she claims her investment was. And to take it a step further, every property that we sell, a fix and flip, we sell it by traditional means, which means we're not wholesaling it. It's not an as-is sale. It goes through, a traditional sale process, which includes a third-party inspector doing an inspection on the home, and looking for anything that needs to be fixed before the bank will lend or buy or place the mortgage on the property. So this is we don't know if this is a legitimate post or if it's another fabrication. But either way, she bought the house in May of 2019. She says by December 2013, but we know she meant 18. I'm sorry, I said it 19 as well. May 18, by December 18, she goes on to say what kind of problems she had, et cetera, et cetera. Well, that's 7 months after she bought the property. Who knows what happened? Maybe she's in a domestic situation and they've knocked the walls down a little bit, or who knows? If a pipe burst under the driveway, that's not our fault. And then there's one more that falls further down, another post, and it's by People Claim. Now, People Claim is essentially a $50 process of where you go in and you say, look, I have a gripe. I want them to answer this gripe and pay me for this gripe. And essentially it was a, look, if you actually have a legitimate gripe, we have in our contract with you, we have remedies for that. So if you don't want to take those remedies to resolve the situation, then essentially you're just trying to extort us for something that's not true, and you're willing to go post out here to tarnish our good name. So when it comes to those kind of things, we do ignore them. We let them post, and then when a potential investor has a question about it, we become very transparent for it. So we're gonna get into some of that as well. All right, so I went off on a little bit of a tangent there, but I just want to share our experiences as well. So another question you can ask yourself is, are they transparent? And we're going to show you how transparent PIP is here in just a second. Do they talk a big game, or do they share, or do they share recent results? And more importantly, can those results be verified? So what's an example of that? If I do a live presentation, the examples of the performances that we're doing are never going to be more than 6 months old. If I can get them, or if we have recent deals, I like to do something that has closed that week or the week prior. It might not be the most outstanding, number one investment we've had for the year, but it's recent and it's verifiable. I can go to that audience and I can say, hey, punch this address into Google, and you'll see exactly what we closed it for. And I'm going to show you a document of what we paid for it, and I'm going to show you an invoice of the contractor's cost to do the work. So that's recent, that's transparent, that's verifiable. Do they require a membership or a fee to see what they have been up to, or to take you on a drive around to look at past example properties? I I'll take you on a drive around. It's going to be free. I'm going to show you what we did, and then if you want to invest, you invest. I'm not going to charge you anything for it. It's we call that paying it forward. If you don't invest this year, chances are you're going to watch us for the next two, and on year three, you're going to see that we're consistent, and then you're going to. And will they disclose any lawsuits or any due diligence concerns you may have found? So I talked about how you can kind of bury, uh, you know, bad press and bad media through the use of some of these blog sites. But you can still run across some of this stuff, and how do they address it when you do run across it? Are they going to be open and honest? Back to the bigger pocket stuff. There was a lot of alias posts, and there was a lot of posts actually made by this individual. Now, this individual, we have been involved in 6 lawsuits with him. They all go back to apparent claims he made back as far as 2007. So again, 6 lawsuits based on a claim of 2007, and you're going to love this. Out of those 6 lawsuits, we have had to deal with 17 different attorneys. They either are fired when they lose a motion by this guy, or they bow out because other proceedings are filed, which would get them in trouble for representing this guy, or this guy just doesn't pay them, so then they end up going out that way as well. Again, we're 6 lawsuits in, and the reason I bring up this one is the last thread that I said I got a little crazy on in Bigger Pockets. The last thing that this individual posted was this crazy lawsuit, charging us with, investor stacking, Ponzi scheme, RICO Act, just, anything and everything he could possibly throw out there. So that's the last thing on this thread that you see. Well, this is the results of what happened there. We filed motions for attorney's fees because it was abusive litigation. It was junk. It was just another one of these, absurd lawsuits that this individual files literally on a weekly basis against people. It seems like, it seems he's got a new one going on all the time. I know he's got one right now against one of his own attorneys. You got to look for the facts behind the fiction. So when you go to Bigger Pockets and say, whoa, this is some serious accusations. That's what it looks like, but that wasn't the reality. So we filed motion for Rule 11 sanctions. So the case was dismissed, and then we filed Rule 11 sanctions. That is essentially a federal rule for abusive litigation, and that actually is filed against the individual as well as his attorney. So the attorney that represented him should have never represented him, and he has a problem finding attorneys to take on these things because the abuse of litigation is so common at this point. You say, okay, well, he has filed this exact same dispute with us. One time we settled it, no money exchanged hands between us, and then he filed another one in Georgia, and then he filed another one in California, and then that one got moved to Georgia. Then he filed another one in Georgia, and now there's another one in Florida. So it's absurd. But this is the same individual, like I said, has created his own news media website and posts stories against us. He posted stories against us. He's posted stories against people he lost lawsuits to in various other states. There's also some posts that just seem random, but also veterinary clinics where he used to live. So we assume maybe the dog got the wrong shot. Who knows? But anyhow, it's just, this is the kind of stuff that's going on our internet right now. So you have to be very careful of what you listen to and what you read, and ask the tough questions. Even if it's of us, ask the hard questions. We've got an answer for it. Okay, do they have an office address to meet them, or does it seem like it's always like at a Starbucks? And again, I'll use PIP as an example. So through these crazy career blogs and some podcasts by that same individual, he's mentioned that we're a fraud because our address is at a UPS store. Well, it's interesting. He said that because so is his. The only difference is we don't work out of our homes. We actually do have an office. But anyhow, we have an office address of 20 Town Drive. That's what you're going to find when you pull us up on Google Maps or anything else. The reason that address is there is that is a UPS store. All of our mail goes there. That's the address we want to have because we are in the business of distressed real estate. A lot of people are very angry with us, even though we're just abiding by the rules and the laws. But they tend to feel victim when they've been evicted or we purchased their foreclosure at an auction, something like that. So for the protection of myself and my employees, we have everything go there, but we do have an office. So if you call me and say, "Hey, I'd love to come meet you guys. I'd love to see your operations," you're going to come see our operations. We're not going to make excuses as to why we're not there or let's meet at the coffee shop or something to that extent. So another great way to verify. Now, I will point out that a lot of people work from home, and that's great. But what I'm talking about here is scale. So if you're doing more than, let's say, 100 deals a year, you're going to need to be scaled and resourced to do that. You're going to need a staff, and so if they're saying they're doing multi-million dollars of deals a year, they're not doing that out of their house. I'm sorry. You need a staff to be able to do that. All right, guys, a couple more slides, and I'm going to wrap this up. Are they recognized by the industry peers and competitors? Are they invited to and willing to share insight on peer and competitor podcasts? And that's a big one. Our space is big enough to share in the wealth. Competitors are often close friends within the industry, and we network within each other. We may compete at a bank foreclosure auction one day, but we still get along because there's plenty of room for us all to be successful. So if they're saying they're a competitor or they're this, they're that, they're obviously not working in the space the way most legitimate businesses are working in the space. Do they regularly attend panel discussions at industry-related events with their peers and competitors? Now, I'm not talking about breakout sessions. When you go to an expo and there's a breakout session, that's a paid-for spot. So you're paying to have an hour to speak. But if you're doing a panel discussion or you're moderating a panel, that live organizer has more than vetted you, and as a reputable servicer to the industry. So they're not going to put their reputation on the line to just give you a spot to come up there and speak on their panels. And same goes for industry publications. You can pay to be on the cover of magazines, and of course we have. But if you're contributing articles, if you're doing that op-ed that spawned this webinar, it's if it's strictly knowledge that you're providing, again, magazines have worked hard and print publications have worked hard to be recognized and as being legitimate and providing good information, and they're not going to put their reputation on the line for somebody who hasn't already been well vetted in the industry and is essentially respected in the industry. All right, so last question, and this one's a mouthful. Are they regularly fact-checked by nationally recognized watchdogs and compliance? See, I could barely even get that one out. So I'm talking about Better Business Bureau. I'm talking about Secretary of State. I'm talking about the SEC, the FCC, etc. Bigger Pockets, Yelp, Facebook, LinkedIn, and even Google, as I've shown you, can be anonymously posted too. So anybody can go out there, Joe Smith, whose real name is John Doe, can go out there and create an account. It takes about 5 minutes and just go posting anonymously. Better Business Bureau is a click away. Secretary of State's office is a click away, and others are undeniably factual because every complaint or positive posting must be confirmed. So if somebody posts something negative with BBB on the PIP page, then they're going to reach out to me and they're going to say, okay, what's your side of the story? And then we're going to provide our side of the story, and it's going to go back and forth, like any mediation would, and they're going to make a decision. And we've obviously been through that experience, and we appreciate that experience because it's factual. If there was a problem and we didn't catch it, we are given the opportunity to fix it before somebody jumps on a blog and just starts screaming about it and complaining about it. So Secretary of State's another very good one. Are they compliant within the state that they're registered? Have they registered the same company in multiple different states? And I'm not talking about registered to do business, but have they actually formed a different company under the same name in different states? So those can be a red flag too if that happens to be the case. But they're both very easy at your fingertips to pull up and find out, and then ask the tough questions. If they have some bad marks on SOS or BBB. So this is our BB review, and again, we don't solicit customer reviews, but we do ask them to go here when they post them because it's fact checked. When somebody posts it, it has to be confirmed that it was actually posted by that individual, by the BBB. So we got it accredited back in November of 2017, and we did that because of these crazy, what's happened to these blog sites with these career bloggers. BBB is a fact checker. So you can't go in there anonymously and say things without it coming back and being noted as essentially a fraudulent post. In the US, only 1 of 10 companies is able to earn accreditation by the BBB. So it's not the most simple thing to get. I used to be a believer it was a pay to play. You got that A- rating, you got that B+ rating, but to get that A+, you had to pay to play, right? I quickly learned as we were going through the accreditation processes that they are actually extraordinarily thorough. They contact clients. They get into our bank accounts. They really are thorough to give you that accreditation, and then it has to actually be voted on by a board. So we're proud to have that. We've got great reviews. We any complaints that have been filed through the BBB. You can see up here, customer complaints 0. Now, I told you again that we have had the experience of where people did complain to the BBB, but those were essentially, either resolved or they were illegitimate claims. Just those kind of people, and they're all out there, and they're in every single business that we operate in that are just impossible to please. You can't do anything to please them. This is going back to when we first had our first file open way back in January of 2006. So in the last 13 years, we have 0 customer complaints. So we're pretty proud of that as well. So that wraps it up, guys. This is the actual op-ed that I wrote and what spurred this presentation to begin with. You can read it here, or up at the top here I've got the link that will take you to our website to read it as well if this text is too small for your eyes. I know it is for mine. I thank you again. Just some tips for you guys to use to kind of decipher through and filter through those websites and make sure that you're dealing with a legitimate company versus a career blogger. Thanks for your time. Have a great day.